Another great show coming your way on the San Francisco 49ers Report, but first, just wanted to thank everybody for getting us past 70,000 subscribers. It's a true honor to be able to host one of the most watched, most viewed, and one of the largest Niners channels on YouTube, especially in a really competitive space. And by the end of the week, I want to hit another goal. How about 71,000 subscribers by Saturday, Christmas Eve, as San Francisco plays host to the Washington Commanders? We're 420 people away. A lot of you in California who watch the show, I know you really like that number. So let's get to 71,000, and with that, let's begin the show. Happy Monday. Welcome into the 49ers Report right here on Chat Sports. My name's Chase Sr. Today's show is presented by Roan. When you think about the dress shirt, right? Don't you want a dress shirt that has breathable material? You don't have to iron. It's stretchable, high quality, very durable, and it actually fits well. Unlike basically every other dress shirt out there, Roan has redefined how we think and how we view dress shirts. And for our faithful audience, 20% off if you use the code CHATSPORTS. Make sure you hit that link up during this holiday season. We'll put it in the comments section as well as the description of this video. So coming your way on today's show, Nick Bosa, after another strong performance against Seattle, continuing to make a case to an NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and the numbers certainly back that up. We'll talk Brock Purdy, take a look at the numbers and what George Kittle had to say about him, which was pretty awesome. And following the Jalen Hurts injury for the Philadelphia Eagles, there's an avenue, folks, in which San Francisco can claim the number 1 seed in the NFC, maybe even the number 2 seed, to at least get a couple of playoff games at Levi Stadium. As for how they can do that, stay tuned to find out. So the NFL sack leaders right now, after Week 15, heading into Week 16. Nick Bosa is leading all edge rushers, all players with sacks this year with 15.5. Last year, he had 15 actually. So he's really on pace, having a terrific season this year, even better than what he was last year in that number 2 spot. Matthew Judon of the New England Patriots, who too is having a really marvelous season. And Myles Garrett checks in at 3 at 13.5. Now, I'm not going to slight any of the players here on the screen, and Matthew Judon, Myles Garrett, because they're certainly very special players. But I don't believe they have the impact on their respective team that Nick Bosa has on the 49ers. The other player who's in the mix here is a guy who is probably, and I'll admit it, a little bit more versatile as compared to Bosa, and that's Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. But from week 1 until now, San Francisco has been the best defense. It's been the most consistent defense. And the last 2 weeks, I'm looking at a Cowboys defense that's gotten throttled by the Houston Texans and by Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jags. That really hasn't been the case when Nick Bosa's been on the field. The 49ers were bad against the Falcons without Bosa. Then they got beat pretty badly by the Kansas City Chiefs. But Bosa's impact on this team, absolutely profound. He has now set a new career high for sacks with 15.5. He has 38 quarterback hits, after having 32 last year, 16 tackles for loss. So he's really a big player, just disrupting the entire line of scrimmage against the ground, against the pass. 1 forced fumble and 41 tackles this year. When it comes down to the art of pass rushing, Nick Bosa is so special. That's why he's in line after 2023 to get a massive bag. And this guy has basically turned into like a Trevor Hoffman type of closer on the football field, where when he's out there, he can finish the game by himself. And even if he doesn't tally a sack number, his mere presence opens up opportunities for everybody else on the defense, not just the defensive line. And yes, San Francisco's defense is great, and they're elite at all 3 levels, right? But if you take Bosa off this defense, they're just not the same. And I think that's the conversation you need to have when you talk about these MVPs and Defensive Player of the Year. If you were to take them off that respective team, what would that team look like? And without Nick Bosa, this 49ers team would not have the same identity. So if you think he is the Defensive Player of the Year with 3 weeks left to go, 3 games, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Bosa, number 97. He's had it going on. Who else has had it going on? Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's been balling, and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself like everybody else out there. Like, we're like, oh my gosh, Brock Purdy's having this terrific start to his NFL career. Is he the real deal? I'm not going to go out and say like Bill Romanowski did on my buddy Zach Gelb's show on CBS Sports Radio that he's the next coming of Joe Montana. That's way too much. But after watching 2 starts, 2+ games of Brock Purdy, breaking down the tape, and how he's looked from the eye test, he's looked really damn good. And there's reason to hope and pray and think that San Francisco can be Arizona bound for the Super Bowl, even with a rookie quarterback, because of the coaching on both sides of the ball and the talent on both sides of the ball. And get this, the 49ers, in 11 and a half quarters or so, with Brock Purdy as the quarterback, have 3 touchdowns of 20-plus yards. They had 1 with Jimmy Garoppolo. That actually came the first week when he relieved Trey Lance. How about this too? Brock Purdy, 5th in the NFL in yards per attempt when blitzed or pressured. He is 9 of 14, and many of those have gone for a touchdown or a first down. Brock Purdy against pressure. Brock Purdy throwing the ball downfield, outside of the numbers, inside the numbers, touch and anticipation, extending plays with his legs, just having a savvy veteran type of mindset. That's why people have been impressed with him, including yours truly. He's completed nearly 67% of his passes. He's thrown for nearly 700 yards, 62 and 93. 6 touchdowns to 2 picks, and average yards per attempt of 7.3. Now, I believe that you should subscribe to our channel because I get ahead of things, and I do believe that while I'm wrong sometimes, I am right about a lot, and when I am wrong, I'll fully admit it. But going into this year, I had said, look, after the preseason, Brock Purdy can play, and I don't think the 49ers are going to cut him because they don't want him to go on waivers for another team to claim him, and that's why they kept him on the 53-man roster. And what we saw in the preseason is what George Kittle has been seeing all along, especially now. Here's what he had to say about BCB. What a game from him in Seattle. He came in against Miami, played at a high level, did the same thing last week against the Bucks, did the same thing this week. Since we drafted him, he's had confidence. He's making throws in OTAs. He came in preseason, won the number 2 spot. He's been going against the best defense in the league for the last 13 weeks plus. So he's definitely getting better week in and week out. And you could see him making throws against our starting defense with scout team players. He's a prepared rookie. He's focused, he's dialed in, and he's taking advantage. And that's exactly what he's been able to do. And I don't want to scoff at that comment and the other comments from Fred Warner as well pertaining to Brock getting reps against this defense. We see how good this defense is. We see that this 49ers defense here in 2022 could stack up with some of the best defenses that we have ever seen in the history of the NFL. That's backed up by the stats. That's backed up by the playmakers. That's backed up by the sample size as well. And Brock Purdy was facing this defense in practice time and week after week. And that's why I think that he has looked ready, and it's benefited his readiness, no question. So whichever nickname you think is the best for Brock, I want you to type it down below in the comment section because he's been pretty good so far for San Francisco. Dad jokes, yes. All right, 49ers Report is presented by Roan. Stick around. We'll take a look at the NFC playoff picture coming up around the corner and what it means for San Francisco following this Jalen Hurts injury. But first, you think about dress shirts, right? Sometimes they're way too baggy, loose-fitting. And many of us have struggled with just finding one that actually fits. This was really my whole cycle when I was working for a local news station in Pennsylvania. And then I came across Roan, and I'm so happy that they're one of our great sponsors here on the 49ers Report. For the faithful, 20% off if you use the promo code ChatSports at roan.com/chatsports. The dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention. Roan stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter shirt, which is the one that I'm wearing now, most comfortable, breathable, flexible shirt known to man. Mobility is really everything. Their comfortable 4-way stretch fabric. Look at this thing. Provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy whatever life throws your way, whether you're hanging out here at Chat Sports or hitting the golf course like I sometimes do. And it's also time to feel confident with the wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. Sometimes I'm in a pinch. I mean, after these watch parties, I'm not feeling too hot on Monday morning. I got to get up and go. And Roan, I don't have to iron that shirt either. There's also Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, so you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, 100% machine washable, so you don't have to worry about dry cleaner costs either when in this time, a lot of people are trying to cut those costs. Roan.com/chatsports, 20% off your order right now. That link is hanging out in the comment section and the description of this video. So Jalen Hurts going down with a shoulder injury. It is not believed to be season ending. It's not believed to be overly serious, but it is an injury to his throwing shoulder. And if the Eagles were to lose out, Cowboys, Saints, Giants coming up, and the 49ers were to win out, because the 49ers would have the better NFC record, there is still hope, a glimmer of hope, that 49ers fans can see their team have home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. I think that the possibility is somewhat slim, but interesting to monitor nonetheless. And we're hoping that the Minnesota Vikings in that 2 spot, 11-3, after coming back from Purdy 3-0 to the Indianapolis Colts, will collapse here down the stretch. And then the 49ers can at the very least lock up that number 2 spot. I can't believe that the Vikings were able to come back from 33-0. It was one of the craziest games that we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Largest comeback. They have multiple clinching scenarios. But what you're hoping for here last 3 weeks, they lose a couple, 49ers win a couple, they get that 2 seed. And then if the Eagles do lock up that number 1 seed, they won't have to go on the road until the NFC Championship game. And I think that that is a winnable game for San Francisco because, as I've continued to say, even though I host the Niners Report and Eagles Now, some of you like to hate on me for that, and I don't understand. The 49ers, I think, would win that football game. They just match up favorably across the board. And the Colts and Matt Ryan really blew it because I was really hoping on Saturday that we were going to be talking about the Niners getting that number 2 spot. Now, if there is a tiebreaker and both teams end up with the same record, as of right now, the 49ers are 8-3 in the NFC. That would give them that tiebreaker. And the Vikings would fall, or are right now 7-4. So there is a possibility that if the two teams win the same amount of games, the 49ers can still get the number 2 seed because of the tiebreaker there in the NFC. And things are starting to get a little bit interesting here in this conference because the Eagles are 13-1. They have a 99% chance of winning the NFC East and getting the number 1 seed in the NFC. But Jalen Hurts, his status is in doubt against the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. Sprained throwing shoulder, suffered in the third quarter against the Bears. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons because it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Eagles to lose to the Cowboys, lose to the Saints, and then rest their players against the New York Giants in Week 18. Also something of note here, what if this injury does linger a little bit? You're talking about Jalen Hurts missing the rest of the regular season, and if the Eagles do get that number 1 seed, he could come back in the divisional round after having not played for 5 weeks. Rusty teams, rusty quarterbacks, that could spell disaster for the top-seeded Eagles. Here are the potential matchups to look at on top of what we already discussed here on the NFC playoff picture. These are the 3 teams most likely to travel to Santa Clara to take on the Niners. New York Giants, winnable game. Playoff preview coming up on Christmas Eve this Saturday. Watch Party 4, don't miss it, against the Washington Commanders. That's going to have a playoff feel to it. It's going to be really intense. The team that's really scary and looming here, and right now, if the season were to end, they'd be on the outside looking in of the NFC playoff picture, is the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell, the coach there, has been able to establish a culture. They're good on both sides of the ball. Familiar foe Jared Goff has really been playing well, and that's a team that's hot right now and could cause some matchup problems. Now, would I take this Niners defense against Jared Goff 7 days out of 7, and then again on Sunday? But those are the 3 potential matchups there for San Francisco. I also thought this was interesting, and this is floating around Twitter right now from Trey Wingo, formerly of ESPN. What happened to the Buccaneers yesterday shouldn't surprise anyone. It's what happens the game after you play the Niners. This season, teams the game after they play San Francisco, 1-12 on the season. The Niners just beat you up. It's a physical football team that's really, really fun. So among those 3 aforementioned teams that you could take on in the wild card round, who would you want to face? Giants, Washington, Detroit. Let me know right now in the comment section. If you made it this far, that means that you are an absolute real one here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. And if you ain't subscribed, you ain't alive.